Jason, how you doing?
I'm good, Madan. How are you?
I'm good. So this is a completely unrehearsed, unscripted episode, correct? You have no idea what we're going to be talking about right now.
I have zero idea what the hell we're doing.
You don't even know the subject matter. You're here in Milwaukee, and
I didn't even know I was in Milwaukee.
Exactly. It's top secret. Well, here, I'll give you a hint. So subject matter, well, before I give you a hint, we talked about the sheep up here. Black sheep, we talked about the flock, so forth and so on. But, for those that don't know, let me just sort of point this out. This is a oblique reference to sort of hardcore punk, DC punk, Minor Threat. That's what this is about. So music. You like music.
I do like music.
And what kind of music do you like?
Oh, I've got pretty eclectic tastes, but largely punk and hardcore, a lot of hip hop, a little bit of jazz.
Okay, gotcha. And I think I was on a podcast that you did a couple years ago, and you asked me a question, and you remember the band I threw out to you, and you were surprised or not?
Yeah, it was Power Trip.
Power Trip. And Executioner's Tracks, which is, would you consider that like soft rock, music? What would you, or not?
It's D, none of the above.
Okay.
It's very abrasive. It's I believe typically referred to as thrash metal.
Thrash metal.
Yes.
And then when you look at me, I don't know that did you think thrash metal when you booked me for that podcast where you're like, oh, that dude's thrash metal every day of the week?
Not only was I stunned to find out about thrash metal from you, but I mean, that's a pretty obscure band, in the large scheme of musical interests.
Correct. Okay.
Not many people are familiar with Power Trip.
Yeah, and definitely not a dorky guy.
Definitely
like me.
not a dork like you.
Look at me, you're like, that's not a Power Trip guy. So just so you know, music's been something I've loved my entire life. And we talked about Minor Threat and kind of that attitude. There's an attitude, and much of that has been sort of this a black sheep, outsider, outcast, DIY. Advent. People don't know this, but Advent at its core is punk DIY. It's DIY for those who don't know is do it yourself. We do it ourselves, and that's how Advent has gotten to be what it is. Gwen, my wife, and I, she's not as hardcore as I am, figured this thing out. Meaning, what we figured out is what punk figured out, even before DC punk was, 3 chords and the truth. You don't need all the big production. You need, a message that you want to deliver. You need some semblance of ability to just, sort of put something on tape. You don't have to have great musical ability, but it's attitude. Attitude is everything. And so for me, like that, my entire life, music is part of what has defined me. And when I was in college, how I kind of got more into kind of more obscure stuff. I was a DJ in college, and I ran the radio station. And
you just went into your DJ voice.
Of course.
That's what you got.
That's what you got to do. And you know what my show was called back at Duke University, 1989 to 1993. There was a show that started at 5 a.m. in my freshman year, and eventually I got to sort of prime time. Do you have any idea what my show was called? You have no idea. It was called Entropic Doom. Does that sound like a happy show? Is that like the Teletubbies? No,
it wouldn't even look good on a T-shirt.
Exactly. So anyway, Entropic Doom, and then this is back. I was a college DJ in the heyday of sort of when alternative music like really was hitting, like Nirvana happened when I was in college. So I basically this is all build up to saying I've got some significant, in my opinion, street cred, which isn't obvious to the uninitiated. Yeah. So we can all agree that okay, I've got sort of a vibe to that in that direction that you'll acknowledge that there's a commonality of hardcore. Right?
Sure.
Good. This is all a lead up if you haven't noticed this. So
we're building,
and I'm here to reveal something today. And it's something that happened Saturday night, this past Saturday. So we're recording on Thursday. So Saturday night, something happened that has really profoundly changed my worldview.
You got the Saturday night fever?
No. I'm just waiting to see how you're going to react to this. So on Saturday night, I'm from Dayton, Ohio. That's where I grew up. My parents are still there. So Gwen, my wife, I've got 3 kids, but I've got 2 girls and a boy. My 2 girls, Gwen and I, flew to Dayton. It was my dad's 85th birthday on July 1st, so that's great.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to him. But we then drove down from Dayton to Cincinnati on Saturday night to see what performer do you think? Who, my wife, my 2 girls, they're teenagers. I'm just sort of I'm like, I guess I'll go. I'm not real interested in this, but I think I'll go.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. What do you think about Taylor Swift?
AKA Tay-Tay.
Tay-Tay. Are you a Swiftie?
Not at all.
Not at all.
But my wife went and saw her 2 months ago.
Okay.
And she's going again this coming weekend.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Okay. And was she previously a Taylor Swift fan or not really?
It was part of her rotation, but not a. She didn't own a T-shirt as she does now.
So here's. So your personal opinion of, let me go back to you. She's not even really on your radar screen.
Yeah.
You know the name. You've probably never listened to any of her stuff. It's like, that's for somebody else.
That's all true.
And that's mainstream. That's sort of antithetical to Minor Threat. Minor Threat and Taylor Swift are probably on the opposite poles of the universe.
This is true.
Correct? So let me just, I'm coming here to inform you that Taylor Swift put on, and I've been to thousands of concerts, many of them on the Power Trip sort of wavelength. She put on the best show I've ever seen in my life.
That's what I've heard.
And then that's primary thing. Secondarily, she makes some badass music. And that's something that I'm still coming to terms with. I don't know what to do with this newfound knowledge, but I can't deny it. I
say to you, don't deny it.
I'm not going to deny it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2, my wife listens to music loud every single morning when she gets ready to go to the office.
Yeah.
And since she went to that Taylor Swift concert 2 months ago-ish, that's all she listens to in the morning. So I'm familiar enough with Taylor Swift's music to know that I don't like it.
There you go. See,
now, you can love it.
Yeah.
That's A-okay. I think no less of you.
Right.
Actually, I think more of you because you're so open.
I'm admitting to this, and I'd say
that's the first step.
It's the first admission.
You've got a problem.
But I don't even know if I have a I guess here's my conflict is that this newfound appreciation for Taylor Swift and her. Let me go there. My newfound appreciation for Taylor Swift. Part of it's her music. Part of it, and a significant part of it, is her mindset and attitude. And another part of that is she is sort of at the peak of her powers. And let me just sort of speak fondly about Taylor Swift on all of those subjects. Her music has evolved over the course of her career in a way that's very unpredictable. The current music that she's making, I didn't know this before, but she's been working and collaborating with people. They're not punk people. There's a band called The National that she's been working with a couple of their members. They've actually done some songs together. I've liked The National for a long time. And there's another band called Bleachers, where their lead singer, I think their only member, Jack Antonoff, is one of her main collaborators. Same thing. I've loved Bleachers for a long time. So I think I didn't realize my worlds were sort of these worlds were colliding.
Worlds collide.
And now that I know that, it's starting to make a little bit more sense. But what I have also understood about myself is that I love a hook. I love that poppy. It doesn't even have to be pop. I feel like Minor Threat or, some of those bands, any music that I like. I mean, I love distortion. We were talking about Big Black and Shellac and but even there's a pop hook there, and they'll admit it. Like Steve Albini would admit the fact that there's a hook, and if you put a lot of distortion on it and you turn it up to 11, it's going to feel a certain way, and if you do the Taylor Swift thing, it'll feel a different way.
Sure.
But attitude, and I guess I'm going full circle. Attitude is everything, and then I'd say when you listen, and how do you say this with her lyrics, she is badass in so many different ways. She's authentically herself, and she is very vulnerable, very unapologetic in a lot of her music, especially her newer music. And she's also a billionaire, meaning she's built a career that is world class, and she's built a business beneath that or around that is world class. And then she can go on stage by her. I mean, she's got backup singers and stuff. So it's a whole production, but that's her in the middle of that.
Yeah.
She can go on stage and own a 60,000 seat arena night after night after night and do it effortlessly. And it was phenomenal. So I guess my really, this is an episode of me coming out and saying I am a Taylor Swift. I'm coming out of the closet in a Taylor Swift world. And I'm actually appreciative of her music and her attitude. And I too, it hasn't been months, it's just been days. There's many of her songs I just can't get out of my head, in a good way. And I would encourage you to take some time to listen to a couple of her songs and just sort of,
there's snow on the beach. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, and this could be, we're not going to do another Kumbaya moment, but I would say that this is a Kumbaya moment, could be as well. But I'm telling you, there's some within Taylor Swift, and again, maybe the reason I relate to her in so many ways is that just as I think the uninitiated would look at me and be like, that guy's not hardcore. That doesn't make any sense. Taylor Swift.
Well, that's still in doubt.
Taylor Swift is hardcore, and I'm more hardcore because I'm willing to admit it. And I'd encourage anybody out there who is unwilling to admit it, to admit it. I also, sort of separately but relatedly, oddly, her mom, came out before the show. And who do you think out of the 65,000 people was the first person that Taylor Swift's mom hugged?
Taylor Swift.
Me.
What?
Yes.
That doesn't even make sense.
Taylor Swift, she didn't come off on stage. She came out into the audience. She came out to go to where she was sitting. And I'm like whatever you think about me, I don't really feel like I look like I belong in a Taylor Swift show because it's a lot of teenage girls and women and so forth and so on. So anyway, and I went to the show thinking I was going to go there and just sort of be an observer. I'm going to take this in. And so the first move that just broke me was that I'm standing there looking. I didn't know who she was. She started walking and the crowd's starting to go crazy. I'm like, must be her mom. I don't know. So I'm looking at her. She's looking at me, and I'm not a hugger, but regardless, she like comes up and gives me a big old hug. And I'm like, all right, well, ice broken, I guess. So, yeah.
And you never washed the shirt.
Exactly. Exactly. And exactly. And then she went on to hug, my wife and my two girls. And anyway, I feel like that was sort of, where I'm going with that is I went to the show. Now let me, so I'll finish this up here soon because I know nobody actually cares. But last year I was forced to see the most horrific performance that I have ever been part of. So this is, if Taylor Swift is peak, like I've never seen anybody do what she did. Now this dude, maybe I'm impressed with his game to some extent, but good Lord, this was the lowest experience for me to see a show. This was in Milwaukee, and I won't be doing it. It's a guy he's from Miami. I don't know if he's got a haircut like I do. Is this going to ring a bell or not a bell? I'll cut to the chase. Pitbull. I went to a Pitbull show, and man, I still have bad vibes from that. So I thought I was going to go to this Taylor Swift show, and I kind of went with the same attitude. I was like,
well, time out. Yes. So what happened at Pitbull that gave you such bad vibes?
It was just icky. I don't know how to describe it. There was no redeeming quality. I didn't like the music. I didn't like the crowd. I actually did not like him, but I was like, I was kind of in a grumpy mood because I had to go to Pitbull.
Were you with your wife and kids then, too?
I was with my wife forced me to go to that show. And this one, Taylor Swift.
So you can force people to do things.
Yeah, your spouse can force. Yes, there's definitely a, there's no way out sometimes that way.
Sure.
So I thought I was going in I was in my Pitbull mindset going into the Taylor Swift show, and Taylor Swift's mom broke me out of the mindset. And then I became an active participant in what ended up being the most phenomenal show that I've ever seen, which has now changed my worldview. And now I just wonder if I'm going to be able to, I'm wondering if I'm still worthy to have the black sheep up here. And I'm wondering if I'm worthy to be still hardcore. Can you
the
be
answer to
hardcore?
both of those is yes.
Okay.
You are.
All right. Well, then I think we have successfully asked and answered the question. So.
Yeah. But this is, I appreciate this because when we started talking today, I realized that you were changed. There was something that was different. I didn't know if it was a different sweater.
Something.
I was unsure. Now I know.
It's Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift
This
fan.
is Taylor Swift every day, all day. So now you know. There's something about me that's, I don't know what you want to call it, that pisses a lot of people off.
I think
what do you think that is?
I said you were an odious character to some. Yeah.